Okay, I can't believe I'm finally saying this, but welcome to my YouTube channel. I have been talking about creating this channel for what seems like forever, and I finally have the time and the drive and the inspiration. So here I am. So let me just introduce myself for those of you who might not know me. My name is Dennis. I am a lash artist based out of Long Island, New York, and I have done quite a lot in my career and I've learned a lot in my career, and I want to teach you guys everything that I've learned. So on this channel, I'm going to be doing a lot of, I guess, tutorials or just whatever. I don't know how I'm going to format the videos just yet, if it's going to be tutorial style, it's podcast style, like I don't really know yet, but basically my intent is to basically share with you guys whatever it is that I know that I've learned over the years, whether it be from artistry to business and everything in between. So if this is something that interests you, make sure that you subscribe to my channel so that I can continue making content like this. And obviously, let me know what you want to see on this channel in the comments below, and do everything else you're supposed to do on this platform. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Anyways, let's get into the video. Today's video is going to be a tutorial on 4 different fanning methods. Now I know everyone makes these kind of videos, but I also feel like everyone teaches it a little bit differently. So if I can teach it in a way that makes more sense for you, then I want to do that. So we're going to be learning the on the strip method or lonely fan method, the pinch method, the flowering cut method, I guess it's called. I don't know if it has an actual official name, and the sticky dot method. So let's get into the tutorial. So quick disclaimer before I start the actual tutorial. For each method, I am going to be breaking it down step by step, but I will show you the method in its entirety at the end of my explanation. I just like to break things down step by step just so that it makes a little bit more sense. So if I can figure out how to put timestamps on here, I will. If not, just please follow along. I promise it'll make more sense. Okay, so let's get into it. The lonely fan method. This is also called on the strip method. I've always known it as the lonely fan method, so that's what I will be referring to it as. Anyways, call it whatever you want. It's totally fine. But we're going to get into the lonely fan method. So this method, in my opinion, does have a little bit of a higher learning curve compared to the other methods we're going to go over. But I like this method a little bit better because it is a little more universal. It works basically with any diameter or volume fan you're looking to work with. So if you do like to play around with different diameters and want one method that works for everything, this would be the method for you. Okay, so first thing you want to do is actually pick up the number of lashes that you want on each fan. Now, I will say with 0.07s, it is a little bit easier to pick up the same number of lashes in each fan, and probably a little bit more important because the differences in, if you're not making consistent fans with 0.07s, it becomes a little bit apparent in the final result. But when you're working with thinner diameters like 0.03s, especially when you're doing things like mega volume, if you're off by a couple of lashes in each fan, like you have like some 8Ds, some 10Ds, some 11, 12Ds, it doesn't make that big of a difference in the final result. What you want to do instead is learn how to eyeball the approximate width of the bundle of lashes that you're picking up to be about the same for every fan. Like I said, you might be off by a couple of lashes in each fan, but that's going to be okay. It's not going to make a big difference in the final result, particularly when working with thinner diameters. With 0.07s, you do want to be a little bit more intentional. If you fluctuate between, like, let's say 5 and 60, that's not a big deal, but you don't want to do like a bulk of 3D and then suddenly a bunch of 60s. That's going to be a big difference with 0.07s. So in order to pick up the lashes, or to get about how many lashes you want in the fan, what you want to do is you want to insert your tweezer into the lashes, and with the back leg of the tweezer, you want to sweep it in a sweeping motion going towards from the inside to the outside. And once you have about how many lashes you want in the fan touching the back leg of the tweezer, that's when you close the tweezer on that little bundle of lashes. Now, this is the part where you're actually going to get the lashes off of the strip, but this part is very important that you are intentional with. You want to make sure that you are grasping the lashes with the sweet spot of the tweezer. Now, if you don't know what that is, basically it's the part of the tweezer, usually somewhere around the center of the little foot of the tweezer, where the tweezer kind of completely closes, and it will evenly hold all the lashes in place. The way to know this in the beginning, if you are just learning, is to close the lashes on the little bundle and give it a little wiggle back and forth. If you're noticing that they're moving kind of all as one, then you're good to go. If they're all moving independently from each other, then you want to readjust your grip until you see them all moving as one. Eventually, you're not going to need to do this. It's going to become second nature, but in the beginning, it's a good little exercise to make sure that you're in the sweet spot of the tweezer. And once you actually are ready to remove them off the strip, you want to do this in a peeling motion, basically towards you in a slight upward motion towards your chest. You want to make sure that you're not plucking in an upward motion, because what can end up happening is the lashes, even if you have them in the sweet spot, could kind of fall out of alignment. Some could get left behind, and then that little bundle becomes difficult, if not impossible, to make a fan with, and you have to basically start over. So it just is time consuming. Once you have the lashes off the strip, place them back down onto the strip. Now, you're not going to place them exactly where you picked them up from. You want to place them on an empty part of the sticky portion of the strip with just enough pressure that they stay in place. You don't want to crush them back down, because then they could get all wonky on you. Just slight pressure just to kind of get them to stay in place for you. And you want to let a little bit of the base of the little bundle kind of overlap the sticky portion of the strip. Trust me, it makes it a lot easier to manipulate the lashes. So about 1 millimeter or so overlap is going to be good. Okay, now we're going to make the fan. So you're going to point your tweezer towards the little bundle of lashes at about a 45-ish degree angle. I'm not a math guy, so I don't know if that's the right angle, but somewhere in that vicinity. You don't want to point them directly at the lashes, but you also don't want to kind of come perpendicular to the lashes. So a slight 45-degree angle with just the tip. You're going to rock back and forth on these lashes. Very gentle pressure. Don't go too hard. The lashes will go crazy on you. Just enough pressure where you start seeing the lashes kind of opening up and forming a fan, essentially. You might not immediately form the fan with just this one motion. Sometimes you can, but I wouldn't force or try and create a perfect fan with just this one motion, at least not in the beginning. Once you see that you have the lashes mostly where you want them, even if like maybe one or two are not completely in place, you can then with your tweezer individually manipulate these lashes, kind of pushing them to wherever they need to go until they're in place for you. Again, don't force either of these motions, because the fan could just go really crazy on you and then you have to start over again. Once the fan is formed, you want to grab them with your tweezer once again and peel them towards your chest, just like you did in the beginning. Now, when you dip it into the adhesive, this part is very important that you are careful with. You don't want to dip the entire base of the fan into the adhesive, because you will pick up too much glue. And what ends up happening there, you can get stickies. The glue might not dry and fast enough for you, and it'll just collapse on itself, and then you have a spike, and then it's just not a good situation. You want to dip just about 1 millimeter of the actual base into the adhesive. What ends up happening is something called wicking action. The glue kind of gets sucked up into the base of the fan, forcing it to kind of form that nice skinny snatched base that we all love. And it's not so much that it takes forever to dry or get stuck to everything on you, but it's just enough that you have enough time to get from the adhesive to the natural lash, and it stays in place. So that's the Lonely Fan method. This next method is called the sticky dot method. Now, this method does work better for 0.07s, like thicker diameter lashes. It can work for 0.05s. It doesn't work as well, but basically the thinner the diameter, the less this method works for that particular diameter. So if you are primarily a 0.07 type person, then this method is actually really good, because it's actually a lot quicker than the sticky dot method. But again, it is a little bit more niche in the diameter that you can use it with. So, but I still love this method. For this method, it's going to be the same process for how you pick up the number of lashes that you want in the fan. Again, you want to be pretty consistent with 0.07s with how many lashes you're picking up. So make sure that you get really comfortable with that at first. So this is the part that takes a little bit of practice. I'm not going to lie, this took me a little bit of time to get the hang of. What you're going to do is you're going to tilt the tweezer slightly towards you so that the base of the lash is almost at a 90-degree angle. It doesn't have to exactly be 90 degrees. And you're going to press that base down onto the sticky dot and then kind of lay it down with some slight pressure. So you're almost pushing it into the sticky dot, and then you're going to let go. And then what ends up happening, I don't know what the motion would actually be called or the action would be called, but what ends up happening is these lashes kind of spring open on you, forming the fan. Now, it might not form a perfect fan right away, so just like the Lonely Fan method, you can then individually manipulate each lash until it's in the perfect position, and then peel it off of the sticky dot. Now, it is very important that you have the fan in the sweet spot of the tweezer, because if you try and peel it off of the sticky dot and you don't have it in the sweet spot, some of the lashes get left behind, and you've just wasted your time. So knowing what the sweet spot of your tweezer is very important with this method. And just like the previous method, you only want to dip about 1 millimeter of the base into the adhesive. And here's the whole thing. This next method is what I call the flowering cup method. I don't know if it has an actual technical name or if anyone else calls it something different. That's just what I call it. But it does rely heavily on the use of the glue ring or the glue cup that has the little cutouts in it, the little divots, whatever you want to call it. That's basically what's going to help you form the fan. In my opinion, this is very similar to the flower bouquet method, but on training wheels. That's just my opinion. Personally, I love the flower bouquet method. It's my preferred fanning method, but we're not going to get into that into this video. Now, this method does work better with thinner diameter lashes, like 0.05 or less. So with those type of diameter lashes, you want to make sure that you are brushing through the strip of lashes first, just to make sure that all the lashes are nice and separated, nothing is tangled, so that the fan actually fans nicely for you. Okay, so the pickup is going to be the same as the previous two methods, so I'm not going to go over that part of it. But what I will say is for this method to work a little bit easier for you, it's not necessarily, it's kind of optional, but in my opinion, it's easier if you use a tweezer that has a little bit of a flexible tip to it, as opposed to something that is just very, that, I don't know how to explain it, that closes all the way. Basically, it just means that when you apply slight pressure to close the tweezer, only the tips touch. You have to actually apply extra pressure to get the entire foot to close. That's basically what a flexible tip tweezer is. You'll see why in a second. Basically, once you have the lashes off of the strip, before even trying to form the fan, you are actually going to dip it into adhesive. Now, just like the other two methods, you don't want to dip the entire base into the adhesive because you will pick up way too much adhesive. So just about 1 millimeter of the base is more than enough. Glue will suck up into the base and you'll have more than enough glue, I promise you. Once you've done that, this is where the little ridges are going to come into play. You're going to see I do kind of this like sweeping or sliding motion. I put the base or the very tip of the base into the little divot, and then I release a slight amount of pressure. And this is why I like a flexible tip tweezer for this method better than like a, I don't know what to call it, like a solid tip. I release a little bit of pressure so that the lashes can kind of move within the tweezer, but that I don't lose control of the little bundle. And as I release pressure, I'm also kind of sliding the base into the groove, and those two motions together will kind of force the lashes to form into a fan. Once I see that the fan is where I like it, I once again apply 100% pressure onto the tweezer, and then I have a fan. Now, because you are essentially wiping a little bit of the glue away with this method, I do dip it into a little bit more adhesive before applying it onto the natural lash. That's just a little side note, just to make sure that you don't run into any retention issues. And here is the entire method all at once. Okay, we're on to our final method, and this is a method that I think we all know. We've probably all taught ourselves this method. It is the pinch method. And just like the previous method, this one also works better with thinner diameter lashes like 0.05, 0.03, 0.02s. I've never seen anyone do it with 0.07s, but I'm sure you could. I don't know, but it does not work, in my opinion, that well with 0.07. So if you're a 0.07 lover, the first two methods might be a better option for you. So just like before, you want to make sure that you're brushing through the lashes first, just to make sure everything is nice and separated. You're picking up the lashes just like you do in the other methods. Now, here is where we start forming the fan. Now, unlike the previous method, you're actually going to form the fan first before dipping it into adhesive. Even though it's called the pinch method, you're not actually pinching with your fingers. Some people do, but I find it easier if you actually just use your pointer and thumb finger more as like a holder to kind of hold the lashes in place. And what you're actually doing is releasing pressure on your tweezer. And while the lashes are kind of firmly held, not firmly, gently held with your pointer and thumb finger, the release of pressure of your tweezer is going to then allow the lashes to move, and they just kind of naturally open into a fan. Now, if it doesn't automatically form into a fan the first time that you release pressure, what I would suggest is pressing down on your tweezer again, kind of clamping down again, readjusting your grip, and release pressure again, and kind of repeat those two motions back and forth until you have a fan. You don't necessarily want to squeeze with your fingers because you could end up making the fan kind of go crazy. So you can apply a little bit of gentle pressure with your fingers, but not too much. You're really kind of just holding the lashes very gently with your fingers. It's the release of tension with the tweezer that's really going to help you form the fan. And then just like before, you dip it into the glue. Just a little bit is more than enough. If you dip way too, the whole base into the glue, you're going to pick up too much. And then here is the entire method all at once. Anyways, guys, that's 4 methods for you to learn to make volume fans. Personally, my favorite of the 4 is the flowering cup method because it is similar to the flower bouquet method, which I love anyway. But the lonely fan or on the strip method, as I mentioned before, is the most universal one. So if you are looking to work with a variety of diameter of lashes, that probably would be the more universal one to learn. A little time consuming, a little harder to learn, but definitely useful. I hope the tips and everything that I gave in this video were useful to you. If you did learn, give me a thumbs up on this video, leave a comment what you thought. If you have a different way of teaching it, I'd love to know. And let me know what else you want to know or what else you want to see in my on my channel. So until the next one, bye.